Good day and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anne. I'm a fashion stylist and a craft addict. Today I'll be sharing with you how to make a bodysuit. I want to start by showing you how to take your vertical measurements when you want to make this bodysuit. So I'm using this mannequin. I'm just using this mannequin, but you have to work with whatever measurements you have. So starting from the shoulder line, aside the armhole line, chest line, bust line, I'm just going straight to the waistline. The waistline here is 16 inches, and the pant line, this is what we call pant line, where your pant sits on, is the pant line here is 19 inches, and it is from this pant line that will curve, will make the curve here. I hope you understand the curve that I mean. So the waistline is 16, the pant line is 19. Now to get the crotch, because for the bodysuit, a flap from the back and a flap in front will be pinned underneath using a press button. So from here to get your crotch, you just take your tape rule and take it all the way. Whatever you have here, here the crotch is 29. So whatever you have here is your crotch. Now from your pants line to your crotch is where we'll be curving to create that pants like look. So you need your waist, you need your pants line, and you need your crotch length. So if you don't know your accurate measurement, you can just get somebody to help you take it using this tape rule. Another way to get your crotch is to divide your hip by 4, and whatever you get, you measure from your waist down to your crotch, then you add additional inches for ease, because you have to feel comfortable underneath when you pin it with the press button. So after this, we are going straight ahead to draft the pattern. I'll start by marking my guideline at the top. Let's straighten this. I'll start by marking my guideline at the top. And from this guideline, I'll take my shoulder measurement. Shoulder is 8. Then I'll go ahead and mark neck width of 3 inches and neck depth of 3 inches. It's a turtleneck, so using this armhole curve, I'll just join these 2 points together. Now for the back neckline, I'm using 1 inch. From the shoulder, I'm coming down by 1 inch, and I'll join it to the neckline. That is the shoulder slope. So from here I'll be taking my armhole circumference is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, so I'm marking 7.5 here. Let me just join it, and I'll be making a straight line. Now I'm taking the whole of my vertical measurements. From the shoulder line, my bust line is 10 inches, the waistline is 16 inches, pant line is 20 inches, and crotch line is 31 inches. Crotch line is 31 inches. Now for the horizontal measurements, before I do that, I'll just extend these lines. Now on my bust line, bust is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I'm marking 9 inches here. Sorry, I had to take measurement of this shoulder width because my armhole, I noticed that my armhole line went out a little more than it should. So I measured the 8 inches I had here, I measured it here and corrected the marking there. So my bust circumference is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. I marked 9 here, and I'll be marking 9 on the chest line as well. For the waistline, bust line for the waistline, pants line and crotch line. So this is my bust line, my waistline, pants line, and the crotch line. Now for the waist is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. On this pant line, you'll be taking your hip measurements. So this, your hip measurement is what you'll be taking along this pant line. So hip is 40. 40 divided by 4 is 10. I'm just marking 10 here. Now, on this crotch line, the measurement you are taking there is how wide you want your the flap underneath to be. It depends on the number of press button you will be putting there. So if you are putting as much as 3 point press button, you need something as wide as 3 to 4 inches. So here I'm just marking 4 inch. I'm marking 2 inches. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I'm marking 2 inches here for the crotch line because I'm putting as much as 3 press button there. So using my French curve, I'll be joining the bust to the waist. And then I'm joining the waist to the hip. Now, from the hip here, note I'm cutting both back and front on this same pattern. So this part here is on fold. When you are cutting, this part is on fold, and there's no zip allowance because we are not using zip. It's going to be a turtleneck. That's why I have the front neckline as 3 and the back neckline as 1. So you can do it. It depends on how comfortable you feel with the high neck, but I think 3 is enough for me. So from this pants line, I'll just be joining these points to this crotch line. That is the 2 inches mark here, and there's a difference between the front and the back. When I'm curving for the front, I'll place my French curve like this. So my French curve comes in. Then when I'm curving for the back, I place my French curve like this. Why? Because the back is usually when you wear your pants, you notice that the back is usually fully covered, unlike the front. And most times when you see bodysuit like that, the front has a slimmer look while the back has a wider look. So I'm just going ahead to make this curve here. So this is our front. So this is going to be our back and this is our front. So when I'm cutting, I'll cut the back first on my fabric, then trim off this part, then I go ahead and cut my front. Now for the armhole, I'm just taking the midpoint of this 7.5, and what I have here is 3.75. So I'll go in by 0.75, and I'll just join these 3 points. This from this shoulder slope here, I'll join it to this point, and then I'll join it to this place using my armhole curve. The back, for the back, instead of going in as much as 0.75, I'm just going in by 0.25, and I'll do the same thing, join from this shoulder slope here to the point and then the chest line. So after curving this, next is to go ahead and cut. I'm done cutting for the back. So now, if you notice, I did not add allowance, and the reason is because the fabric I'm using stretches on both sides, both the length and the width. So I'm using a velvet fabric and it stretches very well. So I'm not adding allowance because it's going to stretch. So on the armhole I cut just for the back, and on the neckline I cut just for the back. So when I put this on my fabric, after cutting, I'll come back and trim off these ones so I can cut my front. Now after cutting my front, I went ahead to trim off the neck depth, the armhole, and the curve from the hip line or pant line to the crotch line. So when you're taking your measurement, like I said earlier, ensure that you have enough length for this crotch line so that you don't stretch it too much underneath your bum when you want to pin the press button. So mine is a total length of 30, but when I was cutting on my fabric, I added I added 1 inch here for allowance. Again, when I was cutting on my fabric, the only places I added allowance was half inch around the neckline, half inch on the shoulder. This other parts, I didn't add allowance. Here, I added half inch for weaving and hemming. Then this crotch part, I left as much as 1 inch so that by the time I fold over, I'll have enough to put my press button on. So my press button will be sitting on the allowance here, while this one is my actual crotch length. So now let's go ahead to the machine.
So I've gone ahead to cut the back and the front parts, leaving no allowances on the sides because it's a stretchy fabric. So it's just a quick process. Let's move on to the machine and sew. Next, I'll just be putting my shoulders together. It's a stretchy fabric, so sometimes it shifts. If you are not comfortable holding it, you can just use your pin. So right now, I'll just be sewing on half inch on my shoulder, and I'll sew on both shoulders. Now I'll be taking the two sides of the bodies and I'll sew on 1 inch allowance. I said earlier on that I didn't leave allowances on the sides and it's quite stretchy. So because I want it very hugging on my body, I'm sewing with as much as 1 inch allowance on the side. It depends on you. You can use half inch if it's comfortable for you. But right now I'm sewing on 1 inch allowance on the side because I'll still weave. Now I just cut a bias strip of 1 inch wide and I'll be using this strip to tape the flap, that is the crotch, the end of the crotch. I'll use it to tape and that's where my press button will be sitting on. Now this is what it looks like after taping. I've gone ahead to tape both sides, so I'll be using as many as 3 press buttons to fix at that end. Next, I'll just be going over to my weaving machine and then I'll weave the sides, the tie opening, I'll weave it all round, then I'll weave the shoulder seam. Now I'm done weaving, and I weaved off half inch, so I weaved the sides as well. So what I'll be doing next is just to fold over by half an inch. I don't need to fold twice because I've woven the edge, so I'll just be folding in by half an inch, and I'll sew it all around the tie opening before I fix my press button. Now I've gone ahead to cut my sleeves. I have a tutorial on how to draft a basic fitted sleeve, and I'll leave the link in the description box. So what I'm just doing now is to hem the bottom of the sleeve, then I'll sew the sides and attach to my main bodies. So I'm starting by hemming the bottom by half an inch, sew on the side using half inch, then I'll go ahead and attach it to my main bodies. The next thing I'll be doing now is to cut my turtleneck collar, but before I do that, I'll just hold my round neck into two, and I'll take the measurement all round. So I folded it into two and I'm taking the measurement all round, and what I have here is 8 inches. So I'll be cutting a strip of 16 inches long, and because I want my collar to be as high as 4 inches, I'll cut 9 inches height, so that by the time I fold over, I'll have 4.5, using half inch to join the collar to my neckline. Then on the side, I'll cut 8.5 because I'll be using half inch to sew. Now I'm just making a guideline at the bottom, then using my tape rule I'll measure 9 inches upward, because when I fold into two I'll have 4.5 inches. Then on the side, we after folding the neckline into two we had 8 inches, so I'm marking 8.5 inches. Okay, I'll be using quarter inch on both sides to sew it together, and at the top I'm marking 8.5 inches as well. Now using my straight ruler I'll just make a square and cut it out. So now I'm just trimming the side to have an even edge, sorry. Then I'll be using quarter inch to sew my collar. Now I'll just be folding the neck collar into two halves, and I'll sew it on my neckline. Then I'll go ahead and fix my press button, and after that we are done. Then I went ahead to use my government machine to fix 3 press buttons, and this is the final look. So I'll be showing you the final result of our bodysuit. And this is our final look. You can rock this bodysuit on a dress, on a pants, whichever way you want to style it. If you enjoyed this tutorial, kindly go ahead and give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, hit your notification bell so that you get notified when I upload a new video. Till next time, thank you for watching. Bye.